Welcome back. As we all said, we're going to be talking about the Ministry of Communication strategy for digital transformation in the sectors of health, agriculture, education, and executing the SDGs of the vision of 2030 or 2020-2030. We're very delighted to be having with us live here in the studio Dr. Nevine Makram. Good morning, Dr.
Good morning.
Nevine. Let us first talk about the definition of digital transformation. Of course, we all know digitalizing our lives has been very common even to our siblings and the youngest generation, but the transformation in its own right is a huge definition because it includes a lot of developments that would be affected on many sectors in our lives. People do not know this fact. It is not just a term.
It's not
So
only
give
a
us
term,
a term.
definitely.
Right.
Okay, when you talk about digital transformation or digitalization, we're talking about embedding digital technologies in each and every sector. So you're trying either to convert the manual processes into electronic ones or digital ones, or to work on older technologies and to integrate the new technologies in healthcare sector, education, and so on. That's digital transformation, and it definitely includes the transformation of the mindset.
Of course. New minds are easily developed and could be easily coping with this transformation. But the elderly generation, they have a little bit of a problem. So there should be some type of a program that would adapt them step by step to that particular transformation.
Actually,
Do you have that in your program?
Yes, definitely, because that's one of the challenges that we need to tackle. So if you talk about the elder generation, they need some awareness campaigns so that they can be aware of the benefits of digital transformation. As for the youth or for the younger generation, for them it's much easier to deal with digital technologies than for us, for example. So for kids, for our students in schools, it will be much easier than the elder population. So we're tackling two types, either working on education, changing the curricula, and include the digital technologies, or working on different campaigns and different training programs for employees and for the elder community.
Before air, we were talking about the e-citizen term, and I like that term very much. But before we delve into the details, let us first talk about the concept of the strategy of this transformation inside the African continent. Of course, when we talk about digital transformation, it's a worldwide step that is taken amongst all countries who have been through the pandemic that have speeded up this transformation. But when it comes to Africa, Africa is a very old continent, and it has been adapted or been familiar to a very classic way of living. So how do you think the strategies are going to be working out in the African continent?
Okay, actually Africa has many economic opportunities, and it's kind of a useful environment and useful continent. As for the digital technologies, as you just said, that it's kind of a raw place to start with. This makes things easier for us as IT professionals. People think that it's easier to transform actual digital technologies to newer ones, whereas, in fact, it's much easier to work in a continent where you don't have any legacy systems. We talk about legacy systems, the older systems that made use of older digital technologies.
You mean older technologies?
Yes. So it's much easier to start from scratch because you'll be tackling today's challenges. That's regarding Africa with all the economic opportunities there. We're talking about how to transform Africa to make it one integrated continent and one digital continent.
Right.
That's the vision of this strategy.
The build-up of a country, does it make it difficult for you to be able to prepare it for that transformation? I mean, the other modern new countries, not the ancient ones, would be a little bit much helpful in a way so that you could be able to inflict the changes and even digitalize its sectors and governments and everything, while the older ones might be a little bit challenging for you. So if you can correct me if I'm wrong.
It has some challenges, but we have what we call the UN roadmap. Because as you know, this strategy serves the Sustainable Development Goals that were identified in 2016. So we're mainly focusing on the 5 SDGs. We're talking about how to fight hunger, how to fight poverty, how to eliminate the gender inequality, how to improve the healthcare services, and how to improve the education services and levels. So we need to focus on these 5 goals, and in order to do so, you have a roadmap. You have kind of a plan to follow.
And this is the roadmap for 2020, 2030.
Exactly.
The
For
vision,
strategy.
which is the vision 2030.
It has a vision, okay, that's working towards an integrated continent, an integrated digital continent, and it has some steps to follow, a plan to follow, in order to be able to improve services in agricultural domain, in educational domain, and in healthcare domain, of course. So you have, first of all, to work on the IT infrastructure. You have to make these
course,
countries
this is the foundation.
Yes, ready. Because without a good and solid IT infrastructure, you cannot apply or implement any digital technologies. These are the main requirements.
And it won't be comprehensive.
Definitely. So you need a good internet access and broadband. You need some equipment in each and every domain. You need some information systems to work on. You need good data, as we always focus on this point. And you need to get the people ready to accept this, whether by, as we just mentioned, awareness campaigns, or by providing training programs.
And facilitating
Definitely.
the procedures.
Definitely.
Because I might be accepting that particular transformation, but I won't be able to take it the straightforward way. I mean, like the e-banking and, you know, some procedures when it comes to some sectors might be a little bit way more challenging for people, I mean, specific people.
For the end user.
Specific citizens.
You know, for us, we always teach our students that a good software is an easy software to use by any end user. Whenever we design a software or a system, we have to put in mind that the end user might not be an IT professional, because most of the cases, he or she is not an IT professional. So you have to provide an easy interface, or else it will be another problem to face. So that's regarding the UN roadmap. And of course, we still have many challenges, like, for example, the security.
Cybersecurity, for example.
Cybersecurity, information security.
And the identity theft and...
Exactly, that's the main challenge. The access privileges. Since we'll have an integrated environment. Integrated environment means that you have kind of data available for many countries. So how can you work on the access privileges? Which country?
And the cyber leaks. And
yes, exactly. How to work on...
It will always be there.
It's a main challenge in all of
the most developed countries. It's always
they
there.
still face the same problem because the people who hack any system are intelligent and smart IT professionals. So you're dealing with a different level. It's not the normal crime or the normal theft or the normal hacking. So you need to focus on providing good security systems. You need
I'm sorry to intervene, but would this be something to intervene in the way of, in the process of upgrading or developing with the economic course of development?
Yes, definitely.
The cyber security?
Yes, because if you cannot protect your data, your information, your systems, and if you cannot deal with any hacking, you will not be able to apply these digital technologies, because we're talking about web-enabled systems. So since these systems will be available on the internet, then you will have many threats to face. So that's a main challenge for us.
Right, of course, that's true. But what are the more sectors that are prone to the threats of cyber security? I mean, cyber insecurity in that sense. Like we say, the economic sector and the political one, the military, national security.
You know, in any sector, it would be some problems to face regarding the security. Because by the end of the day, you take your decisions based on the data provided. So if there is any hacking or any
what happens
any
in that
attack,
case?
We're talking about disasters.
A complete format? I mean,
No,
you're going to be...
You're talking about the cyber security, the crimes, the different hacking.
the violations.
The violation,
the
it's
hacking
what we call, again, the access privileges. So, for example, I'm not allowed to see your data. So if I can see it, if I can have any access to your data, then I'm more powerful than you. And then I can, you know, I can challenge you.
And I'm stealing information.
Yes. We're not talking about the ethical part, we're talking about the implications.
I mean, stealing information might be stealing interest, might be stealing money. I mean, it's going to be interpreted in more developed terms.
In many, yes, in many different areas. Like, for example, the project that we're working on nowadays that will have a good impact and a great impact on all of the African countries, the genomics. We're talking about how to discover the genes of the Egyptians and the old Egyptians. Like, for example, these data, it has to be secure. This is national security. Because if these data are accessed by other countries, then we'll be facing many problems. They'll be knowing more about us. The more I know about you, the more I have power, because information is power. Nowadays, we're not talking about the traditional weapons. That's a very traditional way of thinking, but when it comes to digital technologies, then we're talking about mainly, as you just said, the access to data and to information and to knowledge pertaining to any country.
Let me take it from a very important phrase that you have just related. Information is power.
Yes.
So, and this comes, this might be a little bit, could be a result of the speed up of this particular knowledge or situation by the pandemic and whatever that we have been through the past 3 years. So starting from information is power, which means that the power balance have changed after the pandemic. I mean, priorities are not given to military equipments or energy, or I mean the specific stereotyped 3 types of power. But rather it's the digital transformation, it's information in its own sense and other things. Do you agree or no?
Yes, I strongly agree with you. Because the coronavirus, although it's a very bad virus, as we all know and we all agree, but it had some good, of course, signs. For example, working more on the digital transformation, embedding more artificial intelligence techniques in order to achieve this digital transformation. Trying to get to know more about people, more about, for example, the genes that will lead to certain diseases, the genes that made some people
revolutionary steps.
Yes, yes, especially in healthcare and education sectors. These are the 2 main sectors, and I think that these are priorities for our country.
Yes, that's very much true. And also, if we're going to talk, you said it's about the education and the healthcare and other sectors also, but the application of that particular system. And you talked about the e-citizen, which is also something that we need that you elaborate, because it might be a little bit sounding something very encouraging for citizens to hear. When I hear the e-citizens, this means that I don't have to leave and go stand in queues to do something. I have to, just by pressing the buttons, I would finish up with all my procedures, governmental procedures. Is that right?
Yes, this is
How
true.
is that going to happen?
By digital transformation. Using digital transformation.
Could I be an e-citizen?
We are already doing this process in Egypt. E-citizen means that any citizen in our country would be able to deal with the governmental services, get these services online and using digital technologies. And that's what's already there. And you will find this term coined to Egypt, coined with Egypt 2030. How to make your citizen happy. First of all, you have to provide good and easy to use and easy to get governmental services. And that's what e-citizen is about.
But that's a very difficult job for you people in charge. I mean, adapting or training the citizens to be able to cope with this particular new modern system is something that is acceptable. But training the employees and the system itself and the infrastructure, preparing it to be able to provide the services for the citizens, something huge, such a huge mission. How is it working with you?
There is already an integrated plan in our country. So you will find, for example, the curriculum changing in our schools. You will find in our universities a big change regarding including digital technologies. For example, nowadays 15 faculty of artificial intelligence in Egypt. That's preparing new talent people in order to develop the systems. As for the employees, we have an integrated training plan in each and every ministry. But it will take time. That's one of the challenges.
So it's not applied fully yet?
But we're in the process. You'll have many ministries working on these training programs. And you have, with the coronavirus, online training courses. Okay, and that's one of the points tackled in the strategy of Africa. How to provide online courses that will make people understand what is digital transformation, what is artificial intelligence, how to deal with these systems, and so on.
And I think the Ministry of Communication is pushing hard and empowering and enforcing that particular efforts by you. Do you have any protocols or any collaboration?
Many initiatives in order to educate whether the fresh graduates or the university students.
Also, many universities have opened up that is encouraging the study of technologies and special sciences.
We have 15 new faculties, and I think they're working on another 7 faculties in different governmental universities, governmental, private, and everything.
But definitely with every step, every successful step like that, there are always challenges, and there are always side effects, and there are always concerns and reservations. What are the possible reservations that are taken? Of course, you won't be siding with the reservations, I know that. but I mean, I'm not being negative,
discussing it from an objective perspective, objective point of view. So one of the main challenges, especially when we're talking about Africa, is that some people are deprived of having these digital technologies.
Exactly.
So how can you embed all of these digital technologies while many of your citizens, we're talking about Africa as a continent, many
don't
of
have
these citizens,
access to electricity, for example.
Yes. So you have first of all to provide this infrastructure, to provide them with all they need in order to be able to do what we call the inclusion, the digital inclusion. Because digital inclusion, which is one of the main aspects of this strategy, means that all of citizens and individuals are able to have these digital technologies and to be to be part of this system. So if they don't have any software, hardware, education, awareness, then they will not be part of this system. They will be out of the system. That's one of the main challenge regarding Africa as a continent.
Exactly. So the infrastructural projects which is happening right now in Egypt, especially the informal settlements that are totally renewed by the Egyptian government according to the directives of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, those new districts and new governments and
the new cities.
New cities,
Yes.
Totally different.
You have
instead
new
of the
cities.
informal settlements, totally renewed.
You have smart
becoming,
cities.
it looks like haven.
You have smart cities making use of what we call the IoT and IoE, the Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything.
IoT and IoE. What are those two terms?
How you can be connected with the stuff you're using. For example, with IoT, you will have each and every equipment or device that you're making use of. It has an IP, which means that you can be connected with this,
totally
with this
new
device.
terms to us.
Yes.
Through buses and mobile vehicles.
Through different devices. Like for example, you'll be controlling your car, your fridge, your everything. Okay. As for IoE, it means that all of the devices, people, locations, and everything will be connected. These are the smart cities that our country is working on.
Do we have successful experiences, worldwide that we could, follow suit?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think by 2050, you will have 70% of the people living in smart cities. So it already started, and it's starting in Egypt.
What, from your own point of view, is one of the prominent pioneers in that particular sector, what would you relate to? What is the ideal successful experience that you could follow suit? You wish Egypt could follow suit from other worldwide countries like Japan, maybe another European country, the United States?
I usually like
Where do you
to
find the
take,
successful experience?
Emirates.
Emirates.
Yes, Arab Emirates. Yes, since it's an Arab country. So it's more like our community and society. Because when it comes to automation and to digital transformation, you have to take the mindset into consideration. It's not only hardware and software. That's not digital transformation. It's working on the mindset of the people. So we also try to tackle this success story, especially that in the United Arab Emirates, you'll have many Egyptians working on this field. So you have the experts there. And these experts are Egyptian. Yes, you have very high caliber that are mainly Egyptians. Okay.
And in the United States?
Definitely.
In NASA?
But yes.
And everywhere?
But being an Arab country, it's much easier for us when it comes to digital transformation to tackle the success story. Because in US and in Europe, you have different communities and different mindsets.
But you talked about fighting poverty, gender inequality, those are the two most a little bit challenging issues among the SDGs that digital transformation would serve. How?
Yes.
How can I end gender inequality through digital transformation?
By automating, for example, the systems used for recruitment and for promotion. So these systems,
very good idea.
Yes,
totally agree.
They will not perceive you as male, female. They perceive you as a person,
really?
A candidate. Yes, it's a candidate for them. So you will exclude this gender inequality in most of the systems. But that's of course assuming that these systems are fed properly.
In what way, if you like to elaborate?
Okay. For us as IT professionals, it's always input and output. So if you feed the system, giving them, like for example, what happened in Amazon, yes, years ago, that they fed the system with very good resumes of male candidates and of male employees. Yes. They
very
didn't
biased.
do it, no, they were not biased actually. They didn't do it on purpose. But the system was fed with different
it was because
resumes.
the calibers were, or the former
that was the sample taken. So the system assumed that whenever you wrote anything, you know, we as ladies or as females, we have a different type of, when it comes to writing, you can identify if that was a male or female. So starting with this point, whenever a female applied for a job, her way of writing showed that, you know, that was a female, and then it was kind of excluded because they saw that the male way of writing was better since the system was fed
that
with
way.
these resumes.
Okay. And we don't call that biased, it's so biased. But I wish I would elaborate on that particular part with you, but I will leave you here on a promise that you could come over again to the breakfast show and we can continue on that particular point. Dr. Nevine Makram, we would like to thank you so much. I'm sorry we ran out of time, but we're going to end it up here with our first segment. We're going to go to a short break and we'll come to continue the breakfast show, so stay with us.